People who had sex with coworkers, what your relationship with them now like? Slept with a coworker once, and it turned the work environment very toxic. Vowed to never do that again. Few years later, I found myself working at another company with a very beautiful colleague. There was a lot of mutual attraction, but since we both had bad experiences with work romances, we kept it professional. She started dating a guy, so the flirting cooled off. Eventually we both moved on to other jobs and lost contact. Then months later, out of the blue, she called me and pointed out we are no longer co-workers. We've been married for over 5 years now. Married almost 15 years, 2 kids. Broke hourly employees when we met, put each other through grad school, a good team. Almost exactly our story. We were both in college working shitty jobs at Walmart. I ended up going into a trade and putting her through college, and then I went back and she put me through college. She's finishing grad school now. Married 15 years, own our second home, got 2 kids. We made a pretty damn good team. Congrats to you, nothing quite like finding your person. Worked in food service, so everyone was sleeping with everyone. I don't talk to any of them anymore. Once you hook up with one, it's like a flare goes up and a shitload more come calling. Especially if you have a reputation of being not bad. When I was with the first one, my initial main comment was about, all of a sudden the girls who wouldn't give me a second look before, were now literally throwing themselves at me at work and when we would all go hang out at someone's house later. I was trying to be a good, loyal BF, so I never partook of the opportunities given me, but it got pretty crazy. I've slept with one coworker who ended up being my manager for 6 months a while after. It was fine and I got all my annual leave approved for the year, including Christmas off. Haven't talked to her since she left town now. Dated her for 7 years. Great girl, great relationship, no regrets. Not with her now, but really happy I got to be with her in this life. Why did you guys break up then? If you don't mind sharing. Yeah, as others have guessed, it was a combination of things. I wanted kids and she wasn't sure, we grew apart, were living far apart, which made it easier to let go, and we had some trouble resolving issues that had already occurred. I have no bad feeling towards her, honestly. I wish her all the happiness in the world. After hooking up, we both got fired from that job at separate times for unrelated reasons. We dated for a little while afterwards, but she got super clingy just cause I married her for 12 years. Now she's all like, living in my apartment and raising our son with me and putting daily smiles on my face, so you better believe I'm not making the mistake of sleeping with a coworker ever again. I stalk her on Facebook every once in a while. Hoping she got fat after dumping me. Still looks hot 20 years later. Screw you, Natalie. I made the very dumb mistake of falling in love with her while she just used me as a rebound because she was mad at the guy she eventually got engaged to. We still work in very close quarters, so it's ducking hard. I might quit because it's too much. Do it. You deserve a lower stress work life. If you interview while still employed, you can hold out for a job that comes with a raise. Back in undergrad, I had a big crush on one of the student managers at the dining hall we worked at. Anytime she would come by the station I was working at, I would try to have a quick joke ready to go or simply ask how she was doing. She was in a relationship the first year we worked together and I respected that. Sometime later, they break up and I shot my shot. Well, the feelings were mutual. We hooked up and coupled up too. 12 years later we are happily married. Her mom was my sales manager. Middle of the pandemic, late nights in the office. I liked her but didn't want to cheat where I ate. Her mom kept egging it on and pushing me to date her. Decided why not and went out with her. It was a lonely pandemic. We went on a few dates and I drunkenly asked her to be official. A month into it, I started thinking we weren't right for each other and I wanted to end it, but I really liked my job. A few days before I was going to end it, I found out she was pregnant. Ended up doing what I felt was the right thing and marrying her. It was a tough first year, but we're inseparable now. She straightened me up and now I'm sober and worked my way up to director. So now I'm married, and her mom's boss. It's a very strange dynamic, but it all worked out in the end. Turns out I really did like her and I was just a fuckboy who needed to sober up and get his life together. Life's funny. Super cool lady that I always had a crush on but never made a move. She randomly asked me out one day after work. I took her out and showed her a good time. I was not expecting things to go any further, but they did. We do not speak anymore as she scares me. Why, you ask? The event happened around midnight, and we then talked until about 1:30. From my memory, I fell asleep after a good long pause in the conversation. I found out the next morning that I fell asleep mid-sentence, and she found that incredibly disrespectful, so she couldn't sleep and spent the rest of the night, but naked, smoking cigs, and talking to herself while going back and forth between the front yard and my living room until about 8:30 when my neighbor came over to borrow a tool. Married 44 years. Together for 44.5. Worked at Starbucks after moving back to the States from Europe. Thought my shift supervisor was cute and funny. He was new in town too, so we started to hang out, and then we moved in together because we both needed roommates. The day we signed the lease for our new apartment, we ended up having 6. Friends with benefits lasted about 6 months, and when I say friends with benefits I mean we did everything together, spent every weekend together, started hobbies together, went to weddings with each other, etc. It just took a while to make it official. We finally did about 8 months into knowing each other. That was 6 years ago. We are now married, own a home, have much better jobs, and a 2-year-old daughter. He's my best friend. We both worked at a dead-end job together, mostly nights, and it was pretty miserable. We got to be really good friends and then she was all I could think about all day, every day. We started dating but we eventually got different jobs. Fast forward 4 years and I'm currently in our house, playing video games with her, daughter in between Snapchat messages from her friends, teenagers lol. In a few minutes, I gotta go pick her mum up from work before we do some errands. We've been engaged for just over a year and neither of us have ever been happier. We both got jobs in fields that we're really excited and passionate about and make a lot more money at. Sometimes it just works out. Evie, the cleaning lady at work. Started out with flirting. Then we had some scotch late one night and made love at my desk. The next day she was pissy and threatened to report me to my boss. I gave her a gift of a beautiful sweater and she backed down. But then she noticed the sweater was stained and she got hissed again and reported me. I got fired and ended up changing careers. I'm an architect now. Dated and banged profusely for a few months, then became the best of friends. She moved in with me shortly after as a roommate. Still banging every night after work. There's too much sexual tension that builds in the office. We might give a relationship another try once our lives are in order. We made an agreement not to see others in the meantime for obvious health reasons. Being around each other is fulfilling enough. Sounds like you have a girlfriend with extra steps. We're married. She had never worked at a call center and almost threw up on first call. I worked with her to get her out of her shell. Turns out she easily is the most outgoing person you'll ever meet. She just became a supervisor or the district she works and went back to school. She thanks me added for helping her break out. The 6 is unbelievable BTW. Fun summer fling with an intern. She was beautiful, smart, funny and sweet. There was an instant connection. When there wasn't a job here at the end of the season, she left back to her parents across the country and ghosted me. I still miss those times with her years later. I only hope she sometimes thinks of me and smiles. We slept together a couple of times. We're not really compatible. She ended up dating another coworker a couple months after. They've been married for a couple of years now and have a couple dogs and a kid together. No negative feelings between us or her now husband. Both great people. The kids are going to be lucky to have the set of parents they got. I worked at a grocery superstore with a girl who seemed interested in me. I was lonely, so I figured why not go for it. We had a good time for a while, and I did that thing that I do where I latch onto anyone who gives me any attention and moved in with her after a couple weeks. Turns out she was the kind of person who uses her significant other as a scapegoat to make everyone in her life pity her by lying about being abused. She turned her toddler against me and taught him to hit me in the gonads anytime he could, and laughed about it. She constantly accused me of cheating while, unbeknownst to me, she was seeing her ex behind my back. Near the end she decided that the food stamps she received were only for her and her kid, and that I wasn't allowed to eat unless I bought the food myself. We had made an agreement at the beginning of our relationship where I would pay the rent and she would pay for everything else. It was fair up until she insisted we move into a much bigger house, with a much bigger rent, and I stopped being able to keep up. The store cut my hours so that I couldn't even afford rent anymore, let alone my own food. I resorted to getting food from the deli counter during my lunch and eating it without paying. Of course, I got fired for that pretty quickly. Her response to that was, as you might guess, not great. She used it as an excuse to belittle and berate me every day, sell my possessions without my permission, and start ducking her ex in earnest, still behind my back, and still while constantly accusing me of cheating. During this time I finally had the realization that I'd rather be homeless and unemployed than stay in that situation, so I told her that I was leaving. Unfortunately she also had news she was pregnant. So I decided to stay and try to make the best of it. After a few months it became clear that she wasn't lying, she was definitely getting bigger and more hormonal. The abuse got much worse, and she started bringing her sister and parents in on it. They would sit on the couch and loudly talk about me while I sat in the next room crying. One day I snapped and told her that as much as I wanted a child, it wasn't worth having to spend one more day with her. I told her I'd rather sign away my parental rights than relegate myself to a life of being abused and neglected. I told her that any child that she had a hand in raising wouldn't be anything like the child I imagine when I think of my child, and that I'd rather move on and try again with someone who respected and cared about me, and who would be a teammate in teaching my children to be good people. She took what I said and went to my parents. She convinced them that I was a lazy deadbeat and that I was just scared of having a kid, so I was running away. She turned them against me, and they lost all respect for me. After she kicked me out, she brought her ex, who she had started dating again, to our house to help move all of my stuff out of the house and into the front yard. He also accidentally opened a case of the guitar my father bought me when I was 12 and stomped it in. After 3 months of me living with a friend, she called me to let me know that she had gotten a paternity test and the baby actually belonged to her ex. They broke up a few months later, but he's paying child support for 2 kids now. Biggest bullet I ever dodged. I have a wonderful wife and child now. Worked at a specialty deli grocery store as a manager while going to school. He was manager in another department. We hooked up and eventually started a relationship. We dated for 3 years. He cheated. I broke up with him. He wanted to work it out. I told him even if I forgave him for cheating, I could never trust him again to have a relationship. He disagreed. He lost his shit and started stalking me. Hundreds of texts and voicemails. Memorized my schedule and would wait outside the building to try to talk to me. After a few days, I told my boss I would be quitting if he contacted me at work again. The owner told him chill or you're fired. I proposed opposite shifts, electing for swing closing since he usually opened. This meant he would be there at 4 am noon and I would be 12:30 to 9 pm. I switched to morning classes, which allowed me to accelerate my degree. No overlap, and as long as he left me alone, I didn't care and I thought it was safe. He stopped trying to contact me, so I thought that was it. One night a few months later, I sent my closing employee home as soon as we locked the doors. They were sick and it was a slow night, so closing was easy. There had been no contact, so I felt safe. After their car drove away, my ex let himself in and disabled the alarm. Surprise. My ex was still watching me. There's no way my closing employee would have given him an opportunity for anything. As soon as I saw my ex, I dropped everything and ran to a closet that only I had a key to open. My phone purse was in the office safe, but he had a key to that office. We only had one key to the supply closet because my boss was too lazy cheap to have a copy made. He sat outside the closet door so I couldn't leave, asking me to hear his side and take him back. A friend randomly drove past and saw my car. Stopped to ask me to get drinks after work, and I guess the loud truck scared off my ex. He was fired the next day.